Well, kia ora, hello, welcome to Uncovering Authenticity with me, Monique Bradley. I am delighted to have you here visiting, being part of the studio environment, whether you're virtual, whether you're watching on TV, wherever you're watching this and listening to this, kia ora to you. You are part of an amazing community. Welcome. This podcast is designed to connect with people and enable them to tell their story. It's about honesty. It's about getting rid of the layers and the masks and getting through to the truth of who they are. And today I'm really honoured to have a really special human here in the studio who has come here to take off the mask and be present with me in time and space. His name is Mr. Michael Wilson, and you may know him from a TV show here in New Zealand called Married at First Sight. Welcome to the studio. Now, Mike, I know you are a bit full of a cold, so I'm aware that your energy might be a little bit down today.
It'll probably be better, actually.
Oh, better. You've got more focus going on.
It'll just be one track here.
Now, The last time I saw you, I interviewed you here in the studio. And I interviewed you for my show, Guide to Better Living, which went on TV. And I talked to you about your business and the amazing products that you and your business partner, Ryan, produce with Beta Brands. And I love them, by the way. And I remember at the end of the interview saying, oh, what are you up to next? You got much on sort of the TV front? Because you've got a bit of a background in that, right? And you said, oh, yeah, I've just got this little thing. I went, oh, yeah. And, of course, in the industry, we're not allowed to talk about what we're doing when it comes to TV. And I said, oh, what are you up to? And you said, oh, I can't really talk about it, but I'm heading to Vanuatu. And in that moment, I went, I know exactly what you're doing. I knew. For me, it was obvious, but I'm in the know.
Fair enough.
I know what's going on.
Yeah.
My first question to you, and this is the question that's come through Facebook groups, people that I've spoken to who know that I have met you before, that we've done this work together. Why did you do it?
I think the solid answer is I just really enjoy unique experiences. I think that's the actual ultimate blanket truth of it. It's like I love unique experiences. And I did The Apprentice a couple of years ago, and I actually had so much fun doing that. Like that was just like adult games set up for you. You got to, play different challenges and things like that. And so when this opportunity came up, firstly, I was single, so I was like, great, pair me up with somebody on a different level where, somebody else is doing the looking for you, and through different tests. So I was like, great, pair me up with someone, that'd be cool. And then ultimately from there, there's like a different 3-part prong of that. So it was meet somebody, and then it was, love doing different unique experiences, see where it can take me. And then the third one was like public shadow work, I guess is probably like the best way to put it.
Oh, that's interesting to me. Tell me about that. What do you mean?
So it's like when you get put into such a public situation, there's literally nowhere you can turn or hide, like the real core of yourself will come out. Well, that's my belief anyways, because when you've got so many things coming on you, it's pushing you into realms of maybe edges you haven't been, like deeper energies and things like that. And so the real core aspect of you has to come. And so I was really intrigued about getting paired with somebody I had never been paired with, had never met, sorry. And then whatever that brings up in me would then have to be looked at, because it's such an odd and unique experience, right? So, where were the frustrations? Where was I getting upset? Where was I shutting down? Where was I being overbearing? All these things. And then we got to sit on the couch and have two people basically mirror and be like, hey, here is what it is. So it was... That's
pretty surreal, isn't it?
Yeah. And then so that was like the show aspect of it. Right. So going into that. So how can I attain fast, deep growth? And it's like get exposed as much and as hard as possible.
Wow.
So it's like exposure therapy.
Yeah.
Right.
Like hopping in an ice bath, which you do as well. It's pretty intense.
Yeah.
But it's a huge opportunity for learning, right?
For sure. So there's a whole lot more aspect to all of this. And so the meeting of the person was like, great, let's go and do that. Because I obviously was single at the time and all of that, which was great. But then there was a whole lot of aspects that's come from it. And then obviously after the filming, it took 6 months for it to air, And then everything coming from that and where we are now. But yeah, that's the reason why I went and did it. Just like, let's go and let's see, because why not, right? You know.
So what was it like then to have a random stranger who you've got experts looking at the qualities that you have and the qualities that person has? What is it like for you to have that person supposedly matched with you for whatever reason? Were they doing it to stretch you in that way? Was it to antagonise you in that way? Was it to help her grow? What do you believe, or from your experience, might have been the driver for what ensued in that pairing? I
think it's... So I've got a really good friend called Atlas Talisman, and he's got a method of... like living philosophy called open world theatre, and it's a brilliant philosophy, and I've done lots of training with him, and we did a 2-day immersion with him about 3 weeks ago, and he went into this concept of reality and actuality, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm interested in that. Like, tell me about that. And he's talking about how reality is a construct of safe isms, right? It's reality, right? Reality TV, reality we live in, you know. Whereas reality is never actuality. The actuality of reality is not reality, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. What's the actuality of it? And so everything that happens and goes through, like, it's all off your own accord, right? You know, they obviously set up, you know, a bit more charged situations so you can draw more emotion, you know, however they paired people certain places. I mean, they kind of know a little bit about you, so they're like, oh, this might work, whatever they're behind the scenes. You know, I'm not here to conspiracy, you know, be a theorist behind it. But it's like, you know, they still have a TV show to make and a business to run, and I totally understand that, right? But what ensued on the show is what happens on the show, right? So, you know, emotions are real, you know, regardless of where they come from or what they're about, because it's a heightened charged emotional situation. You've got nothing else you have to factor your awareness on, you know, like you just have that to think about, you know, and that's it, you know, everything else is taken care of. So the things that came from it were right or wrong, they happen. You know, they force you to either react or respond, you know, and my theory of life is just try to respond more and react less. Because now in a response, you're being conscious. In a reaction, you're unconscious. So how can I stay more conscious? How can I look at something, and if there's multiple people telling me, how do I then go, okay, well, they can't all be wrong. Let's have a look at that. Now, regardless if it's set up for another reason, or it's actually not the truth, or it's just a collective mind virus that has hit everyone, you know, and that happens. It's like, oh, that's fine. But so yeah, towards the end of the show, I'd lost myself quite a lot. I really, because you get asked every morning, like, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? How are you feeling? How are you feeling? You know, and so. Then they, you know, the storyboard directors underneath, and they like start asking you questions and trying to like draw more and more out for you. And so when they're constantly saying things, you're like, oh, okay, well, I need to give them more. So yeah, it's a really weird dance, just reflecting on it now. Like you're like, I need to give them more because I know I'm on a show, but it's my life and I control it. But yet I still feel like I need to do something here. And it's a funny dance, right? Yep. And so then, you know, you keep hearing something constantly along, like, oh, you're not sharing. I'm like, okay, well, let's go into that. Maybe I'm not. All right, let's move into that. And so then this is where kind of like, you know, more gaslighting and thing comes in, you know, like if you're in a kind of gaslit relationship or even a friendship or something, this is where you can feel confusion and you don't know who you are and things like, because you're being told that your reality or your actuality isn't real, right? It's like, that's not happening. Whereas nobody has any idea about your inner world apart from you, right? And so for whether it's a drama for drama's sake or it's real or it's not, it doesn't matter. It's still your reality, right? And so no one can ever and should never tell you any different of your world because they don't know. And so towards the end there, I got quite lost because it was about, I don't even know. So I haven't even seen most of it, but the confusion started like kind of when we came back to Auckland. I was like, oh, this is interesting. You know, like how, well, okay, I haven't been here before, but it was realms that I had never been before, you know.
Yeah.
And again, I'm the type of person it's not nice at the time, but I enjoy riding into the depth of myself and being like, oh, what's here? Who am I at this point? You know?
How am I expressing myself? What's coming up? What am I being challenged with? What are my shadows? All of that stuff.
Yeah.
And is that what that experience really mirrored to you at that time, do you think? Or drew out of you?
Yeah, it drew out of me. God, it drew out of me. What did it draw out of me?
Or is that still a work in progress?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to jump to a quick answer here, I guess. What did it draw out of me? I guess, yeah, yet to be defined. You know, it.
And as you're probably still going through the media as well, the media daily outpouring of being positioned, not even how you want to position yourself, but being positioned by other people, and having to deal with that must be quite challenging.
Yeah, and not chasing it and not in any shape or form. Like I don't follow any of the news medias. I don't follow any of the page or the media that came out or come out about it. Like I was doing it for many years beforehand, so I don't see it and I don't actively search for it. And I wasn't reposting the content that got given to us by the network and pretending about being in a relationship that I wasn't in. To me, that's inauthentic.
That's right.
You know, like, and so I've chased nothing. I didn't even put it on my profile or anything. It's like I wasn't going into this to try and leverage this to get people to follow me. Like that wasn't any part of my thinking or feeling of doing this. So I wasn't chasing that. Like it's not something I'm doing. So the media and everything that's coming from it, it gets sent to me in messages from lots of different people, you know, like the amount of messages and people that are sending and things like that. Like, oh, look at this. So it does pop up into my awareness because it's there. Or my sister, she's amazing. She's like my biggest support outside my partner. And she'll just be like, oh, Mike, just let you know, like the tables have turned, you know, like in like the consensus thing, you know, she's like, you're good. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, thanks, sis. So she'll let me know.
But the reality is, though, you do dance to the beat of your own drum, and none of that stuff kind of, knowing you a little bit, and none of that stuff I can imagine would come into your realm of conscious awareness. No. However, it is relentless.
But it's heavy. It's heavy.
And that's what I'm feeling.
It's heavy. Yeah. You know, like it's heavy. And
did you expect that level of heaviness going into this experiment?
I didn't know what to expect. I mean, the only thing I could expect was like, oh, it could possibly be like what it was after The Apprentice, right? And but that was nothing.
But such a contrast in experience, production, everything.
Yeah.
And like we were, just before we started, you were saying the experience of being on The Apprentice, you were full of a room full of people just like you.
Yeah.
And that's quite a contrast to this experience. Do you think you were blindsided maybe going into this, or maybe not aware of what the consequence might be of a show like this?
I think there's consequence in anything you do anyways, right? Just choose your consequence. So why not just be as big as possible? You know?
That's a great quote. I wish if you were on Oprah right now, that'd be like one of those, she calls them tweetable moments where, you know.
This is what I'm just sitting with. And you would be the same. You're a big person, you're a big human in the world. You'll trigger people just by being you.
100%.
You know, and that's happening now on a mass scale, right? Yes. Like this, it's nothing, what's happening now is nothing new. I have people who are sending me messages going, fuck, you're amazing. Like, and that is pretty much most of the messages that I get are like, fuck it, you're epic. I see it. I see you. I know in the world, you know, there's been a couple of comments, but that's it, you know, like nothing. Whereas then there's the other flip side that it's like fucking putridly hating me, you know.
Wow.
But that's how it needs to be.
That's the duality of
100%,
life, of the
right?
world. You can't know light unless you know dark or
correct.
hot and cold.
And so everyone's going to judge you of what you do anyways. So be the fucking biggest and most authentic version of yourself ever. Because it doesn't matter. None of it actually fucking matters. None of it has any meaning. It only has meaning because you give it meaning. So go and be the biggest, most authentic you version. You're going to fuck up along the way, but that's all right. That is actually part of it. You have to fuck up because you can't get any higher levels if you don't. And it's about having the consciousness level to go, yeah, I've fucked up here and know where to set boundaries and know what to not buy into. That's why I haven't bought into any of this. It's all happening around me. It's heavy and it's leading me here. But would I ever come on a podcast and ever sit here and point the finger and be like, you're this, you're that, to anyone on that show, including the Cara who they paired me up with? No, because it's not who I am. It's not, you know, I don't fall into that. You know, like you can't bait me enough into that. Like it's there are parts of myself that are like, fuck, I want to burn this shit down, you know, like I want to get on that. I want to just tell it, like, oh. But that's still honoring a part of yourself, but you don't have to act upon that. It's not who you are. You know, we're full range.
So it comes into that conscious response that you were talking about before.
Correct.
Choosing how you want to show up.
Yeah, but it's still heavy, man.
Yeah,
you know, you're like someone who's like just the only way they can stay relevant is by talking about you, hate about you. It's like, whew, it's a big burden to wear.
I absolutely understand. So I want to address it. Oh, sorry, I just kicked you under the table. It was a kick of love. There you go, because I do respect you, and I respect how challenging this time has been for you as well. You know, I really want to honour that. And to anybody who might be listening or watching the podcast as well, if you think I'm skewing the narrative, I'm not. I'm here to honour the person that's in front of me and give them the right to speak. And it's the same with any other person that might be on the show. If they want the right to speak as well, I would equally hold space for them too. So I just want to telegraph that now.
Perfect.
Now, Mike, I do have questions that people have sent in to me, and I will get around to those. I want to address a couple of moments that I saw. I only watched small amounts of the show purely because it's all about what we call attention economics, and do I want to use my attention in a way that helps programs like this potentially earn more money? I'm not sure. I know who I want to give my attention to, and I will do that in my own time. But there was a quote, particularly in that last part, in the final ceremony, where Cara mentioned that you're a big personality, and she mentioned that she felt she was losing her own voice in your central character or your main character energy. In that moment, because, you know, obviously she had the right to say that. That's her truth.
Yep.
I personally felt you didn't get the right of reply.
Yeah.
Or you may have had it, but it wasn't edited out.
Yeah.
What happened in that moment?
I can only go from my mind because I haven't seen the episode.
Okay.
I haven't watched the last 4 or 5. But I mean, I had my, so when it came to the end of the year, the end of show vows, you know, like they were like, oh, just go away and write, and you had to give it to the producer and they would look at it and be like, okay, and go read away. And I mean, you can write anything you want, you know, like, you know, my sister used to love the show until I was on it. She was like, oh man, like some people go really, really, you know, sadistic in there. And I was like, nah, I won't. I'll just still be me. You know, and so I don't know how much they've kept in or how much they've taken out because I haven't seen it, so I can't fully quote on it. But look, I went up there and I said my piece in my own way. You know, that was it.
And I think a defining moment of that, if you can cast your mind back, it's some time ago now, was when she said, I've just had to speak my truth. Yeah. And you had this blissful look on your face, like of absolute pure joy. And you looked at her and you said, that's all I ever wanted for you.
Yeah.
What was that moment like? Well, can you remember?
Yeah, totally. Oh, for sure. Because that's all I want for anyone. like literally everyone. I just want you to be you, you know?
Do you think from the bits that you watched that ethos or that way of being, do you think that was shared about you?
I mean, they definitely, it was interesting seeing what they did cut out. So they could create a slightly singular narrative of how they wanted to create. So like that first, you know, drama fight, whatever it was in the pool in Vanuatu, it was the third night or fourth night when we all got together or whatever it was. She like sat down and she was like, hey, look, I've got something to tell you, you know, however it went, and she started obviously going into it. And my first words were, okay, cool, how can I support you through this? You know, like, what would you like me to do? But they cut that out, right? Like, so it's like those little nuances of like, okay, cool, you know, like just giving you space to be able to feel a bit safer to talk or open up or whatever you want. So it was interesting just seeing, like, take those little snippets out here and there of like subtle language like that. Just because it sets the tone for a different way rather than what it was. But, you know, I always said to myself, I'd never be a person who sits up here and is like, the edit, because honestly, it doesn't matter. Everyone has their own perception of you in their mind anyways. This is just a public perception of one angle. Everyone's got their own angle anyway. So this is just a more, what would you say, long-term, singular version of me that'll be out in the ether for a while?
For a while, then it'll move on.
Correct.
It'll move on.
Yeah. So, yeah, look, the amount of people that have messaged me and be like, man, like, you know, I really understand you're this and that, you know, like, they sent me some really good long messages. Then I got enough of me across for it to be reached by the people who needed to hear it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So obviously reality TV, and this is my final question on that before I go to the submitted questions for you. Reality TV, is it real?
I think this goes back to the reality actuality, right? I mean, I could be the philosopher here and be like, what is real, you know? But no, I know where you're getting at.
I'm asking you some good questions today, eh?
Oh, this is great.
So.
No, this is great. Because it's just like, there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. There's just my perception of it, right? So what's the reality of it? Yes, for sure. Because emotions are real.
That's a very, very good point. Right. Let's go to the questions. I love that moment. Just so good. Okay. Going into the right group. So this is from a Facebook group, which is a dedicated Married at First Sight group. And I posed the question. I said, I'm going to be speaking to Mike from Married at First Sight, and I'm going to ask him questions that you submit. So what are your questions?
Is this the main fan group one, is it?
It sure is.
So,
are you ready?
Okay.
And there's some really interesting questions here. Okay, so first of all,
Can be good or bad too.
No, they're good.
Like, throw them at me. And the funny and the hilarious.
You're going to get them all.
Good.
So, and these are not my words.
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Read it in sick.
Okay. Veronica Hagues. Shout out to Veronica Hagues in the group. Why has he got that stupid beard? And is it real? To which I replied, great question. Firstly, yes, it is real, because I have touched it before.
Totally, yeah.
And secondly, I'll ask him why he did it.
Oh.
Why? What is, and it's the same with Laura Doolin. What's up with the beard? So many questions about the beard. What is the story? What is the history with the beard?
Isn't it interesting?
It really is.
Hey.
And Veronica Hottie, I want to say, said, there's a handsome face hiding under the face fuzz. So tell me the story of the beard, because everyone wants to know.
My beard story. Well, I had a beard many years ago. I was a young PT living in Australia over in Subi in Perth. And I started to growing a beard. I was about 25, 26. And yeah, it started to come in well. I was like, oh, I can grow a good beard, and and that was that. And then I had my daughter was born when I was like 27, and her mum didn't like it very much either. So after about a year or something, I think I shaved it off and did the funny thing and scared my daughter, and had no face.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And then yeah, so I was around there for a few more years, and then went through a lot of kind of dark place, bad times and things like that, and had to make the choice to move back to New Zealand, and so I did that a few years later, and I was like got back here, and I was like, oh, I'm going to grow back a beard again, and so that was, what am I now, 37? So it was like 7 years ago, and so yeah, I don't know. There's a point of it. I don't know. It's such an odd question. So many people got so interested in like someone who has a beard. And I was like, wow. And then so many people had so many opinions of telling me how I should look like.
I know.
It's so funny.
Bizarre.
Like, yeah.
It's so bizarre.
But imagine if the tables were turned, right?
No, if I had a beard.
No, but like, let's just imagine the tables were turned, and let's just talk maths and media and things like that right now. Imagine if I was like, no, Kara's too tall. I'd be a scoundrel. Oh no, she's too fat. You know what? I don't like that part about that person. No, let's change it. I want that change. That's why I'm not attracted to them. Imagine if the tables were turned. Can you imagine? I'll be the biggest bigot in the country.
Go. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, wouldn't I?
Really good response.
So I know it's all in jokes and laughter, but why the beard? Because why the fuck not?
Thank you for the answer. So Casey Louise in the group as well said, when are you going to shave the beard off?
Hey, I have just been sitting with. I think there will be at some point soon. I think just with a bit of heightened exposure and things like that, I might do like a charity shave or something like that. Maybe do an event and for like men's mental health. I'm not sure when. It's just an idea and seeded in plants. So don't quote me on it if I do it in the next 6 months. So I think that would be quite a cool thing to do. And I have this thing in me. I'd be like, okay, once this whole thing is kind of like run its course, so I can like shave it and kind of like change into like the new character,
the new central character. Yeah, I love that.
Of my life. So I'm like, okay, cool.
The new evolution.
It's like getting to this point, and then it's like, okay, cool. What's the next?
I love that. Ellie Harford said, yes, is it time to get rid of the beard as well? So another question. And I'm letting you know because I told these people I would pass these on.
I love it.
Another person, Renee Marie Bowen, said, do you use a flat iron on the beard?
No, it's just a brush and a hairdryer.
Old school. Beautiful question. Carol Singer said, do you think Kara would have been attracted to you had you shaved off the beard?
I think the answer is it doesn't matter because, and this is for everybody, don't change yourself to fit in somebody else's box.
I love that.
Simple. It will never work out anyways.
Beautiful. Great response. Carol also asked, and a lot of people have been asking me, did you do this? And I'm going to ask you this straight up because this is my job.
Totally.
Did you do this to promote your business?
No.
Because Carol has just asked, have your product sales increased since the show aired?
Not on an incline that hasn't been happening in the last 12 months anyways. So, yeah.
And the product is separate from you anyway, right?
It's for sure. The business runs its own thing, you know. Yeah. It's interesting. Everybody else spoke about it bar me. So I'm like, hey, thanks team for more awareness.
Fantastic. Yeah, very good point actually. Marianne White, who I do know, shout out to you, my friend Marianne. She said, because she's been on this podcast as well, and she said it's all about uncovering authenticity. Now, we don't think necessarily, well, most people don't think necessarily as reality TV being authentic, perhaps. And I know, and I don't want to diminish the fact that you said feelings are real, and in that heightened state of the moment of being on that show. You're in like a pressure cooker, right? You've got people around you all the time. It's intense. You've got people asking you questions all the time. It is a strange sense of reality. And that was your reality at that time. And I do acknowledge that and I do honour that. Marianne has said, my question to you, especially because you're on Uncovering Authenticity, that's the name of the podcast, is why reality TV when everyone knows it's all about the drama? Did you want the drama? Did you perceive it as being the drama?
Here's why I'm smiling. My initial answer that just come to me is I'm a little arrogant, like a little integrated arrogant. I'm confident and, all that. Maybe there's a part of me that was like, oh, maybe I can get through this without that, How can I hold myself enough to be able to navigate the concepts and make it different?
Wow. Do you think you achieved that?
I don't think it's about achieving anything. I think it's always in the pursuit of something, but I definitely fucking gave it my all. Yeah, I really did. Yeah.
Great. Good response. Bert James also said again, what's with the beard? Mate, come on now, people with your beard questions. And then, I know, it's full of them.
It's hilarious.
And then somebody said about it as well, and they were talking about how it's potentially quite coarse, and I said it's actually surprisingly soft.
Yeah.
And I replied, it must be because I think he blow dries it. So there you go. So to all you grooming people out there, you should know that. Here's a big question. I'm not sure if you're allowed to answer this, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Ask it anyways. We'll see.
Do you get paid to appear on Married at First Sight?
Well, I mean, legally you've got to get paid something in exchange for your time work contracts and things like that. So you do get a per shoot day, per diem, but it's nothing. I mean, I lost a lot of money going on the show because I had to obviously put a lot of work aside or give it away while I was away. So yeah, I came out in the negatives, let's put it that way.
Okay. Good answer. I hope that satisfies your question, Mary. Linda Steele said, how scripted or controlled by the producers is the show? Are you allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, look, they keep you in the dark about pretty much everything, and they leave you shoot schedules to the night before very late. So you're very last to know about everything as well. What's controlled? It's just as controlled as our controlled society out here, I guess, like it's just a little bit more intimate, and it's only with a few more people, with only a few people. Are they skewing it and creating a storyline as they go from what they see? Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, they're not standing there telling you to say things. Well, not to me anyways. They would definitely try and throw suggestions in there, but whether you take them or not, it's up to you. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now, I have two extreme contrast questions / comments. One which I'm reading and I perceive to be a little bit heavy. Are you open to that?
Yeah, bring on the heavy.
Okay, and then I've got one that I made me laugh out loud.
Okay.
So the heavy one, and I'm going to name the person, Richie Lewis in the group, said, ask him, and I'm sorry, these are not my words, and I would never say this myself. Ask him why he's so obviously fake and lives in a fairyland, and tell him to stop that ridiculous breath work and shave that beard.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a statement. I said to you I was going to be honest in this chat, and I was going to tell you these things purely because people have asked me.
Yeah.
What is your response to that comment?
New Zealand has the highest men's suicide rate per capita in New Zealand.
Thank you.
That's what I got to say to that.
Thank you. Fantastic response. Thank you. On the flip side, changing gears somewhat. Gemma I've just got to look for this question because it made me laugh out loud. And again, this is actually someone I do know in this group. Gemma Fraser from Wellington, shout out to you. Her question was, do the curtains match the drapes? That was my favourite
Hold on, let me
question.
look at the camera. It's multicoloured at the moment, isn't it? It's a little bit white, a little bit thing. Oh, Gemma,
Yeah.
there may not be any curtains.
There you go, Gemma. I hope that satisfies your question as well. And that is actually the bulk. There are lots of the same sorts of questions, comments, but I thought I would give you sort of the highlights.
Yeah, cool.
Now, the topic of mental health has come up a huge amount of times in today's chat, both contextually and subtextually as well. This is a weird situation. And again, you chose to go into this experiment.
Yep.
You walked in and you said, I'm looking for an experience that will help me grow as a human, that I'm single, I'm looking for love. You wanted to experience, and you are this person by nature, knowing you want to experience all that life can bring you. When it comes to that mental health space, what I know they have therapists handy to support you, but what has the impact of people's perceptions of you? How has that affected you? Has it affected you? Because it's a lot to deal with.
It's a short answer no with a but, you know, like it's always going to affect you, you know, like it's just going to affect you in certain levels as you start to process what's going on. It's your nervous system becoming more and more safe, I guess, is probably the best way to put it, right? So it seems that it's been like a slower inclined trajectory to get to this point. So, you know, compared to maybe the others who haven't had maybe some wise, and I'm, you know, you're saying you're on stage talking in front of hundreds and hundreds of people doing different things, like,
all the time.
You know, like being out in front of people and speaking and stuff. It's just what we do, right? So the huge, like, anxiousness that used to come from, you know, preconceived people's judgments and things like that, it's not as strong as it used to be, because obviously being out in the public and speaking and doing auctions and emceeing and things like that, and obviously maybe doing The Apprentice for a little bit too, you know, that came from that. But because this is so much bigger and it's so much more polarizing and on the negative as well as the positive, but the negative is always going to be heavier, right? It's a heavier state. It's definitely affected me. And I mean, I was, you know, God, I've been so sick the last 4 days. I was in bed, it like knocked me down. I was in fever for like 3 days. It was crazy. And then about 2 weeks ago, same thing happened. Just before I went on holiday, actually, and so I haven't been sick in like over 2 years. So for me, and I'm pretty good on my self-care practices and food and things like that. Yeah. And so for me, that's just signs of, I mean, let's just put it this way. Even through all of the stuff with MAFS that's been going on, it hasn't been the biggest thing in my life, things in my life. Like I've multiple other things that I focus my attention and energy on pretty much, all day and every other day.
That's
you know,
right.
like this isn't the biggest thing. Like I could tune into it, jump into it if I needed to. But you know, I've got my business to run and I've got all these events and different things and all these things going on, which take all my time and attention. So I haven't dropped into a lot of it to feel it, but the collective energy that is here, you can feel it. I can feel it weighing me down, especially now as it's starting to peak with different stories coming out in the media and things like that as well, and just the constant barrage from the other side of this, you know,
energy coming at you.
Energy, correct? Yeah. And yeah, it does take a toll, for sure.
So for people who are hearing that and going, this all sounds really super woo-woo, that's a bit odd.
Yeah.
How do you respond to something like that? Because not everybody's into that.
No.
But how is that your truth? How is that your authentic self? How is that your practice?
I guess just for the people that it's not like this. I was laughing myself the other day. this is really opened up the skewer line of people who I'm like, cool, I want in my life. If someone's really, created a judgment or offended, or they've created a picture and an image, and you're susceptible enough to think that this is real, right? And now going to have some real human emotions about me from it. That's okay. All power and love to you, but you're over there. Like, it's all good. Anyone who can come and joke about it and be like, hey, like, I can see what you're doing here and da-da-da. I'll be like, hey, what's up? It's all good. It's just forever putting your flag up as high as possible, right?
That's it.
So the people who align with it will be like, hey, look, there's that flag. So yeah, if it sounds woo to you, then it probably is. If it doesn't, then it's not. That's all good.
That's so good. That's so good. Yeah, I always say, because of the how I roll and how I've grown up, I was brought up in quite a woo-woo house myself, and then had to navigate through media not to be woo, and then to be woo in certain spaces and not woo, and all that sort of thing. And I guess how I've made peace with it is to realise, and especially when you're a public figure, you work in the media, or you're in social media and all these sorts of platforms now. I've realised I may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I'm someone's chai latte, and you know what? So long as I'm my own cup of coffee, that's what matters. Get all my own hot chocolate or whatever.
It's such a journey to get to the acceptance of that point. Like, there's no other journey that you can get to the acceptance of that point is without condemnation. It's the Moses wandering the desert for 40 years story, right? And still never made it to the promised land, right? Like, but the ancestral followers afterwards did, it's you've got to, there's no other way through things, except a little bit of suffering sometimes,
It's like Winston Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep on going.
Well, that's it.
And all these people who say it's not actually about the destination, it's about the journey.
Well, because what are you going to do? You're going to stay in hell? Are you going to stay there?
I like the heat, but not that much.
No, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, for me, it doesn't make sense. And I would rather be going through hell than sitting in purgatory being told what to do.
Yeah.
Like, that to me, mediocrity is the biggest fear of mine ever. Whatever that looks like, doesn't matter. It's just, as long as I'm carving my own path, then that's fine.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
But if more people did that, we'll take a little bit more ownership of our own lives. We go and seek a bit of healing through some modality, a bit of talk therapy, maybe a bit of breathwork, a bit of meditation, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Sit down and have a fucking authentic conversation with your wife or your husband, and actually share a bit of something about where you're at and who you are. You're not the same person you were 20 years ago to now. So these are just all ways I live by. So going on to something like this, there might be one person who's like, "Fuck, man, that guy's living pretty authentically himself," like that inspires me to maybe, create the company, maybe ask the person out, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, take a step into the direction of your life.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I love these moments. Now, normally I finish up by asking you, and you've given me so many, if you were on Oprah, what would be that one message you want whoever's watching or listening, who may be feeling challenged, uncomfortable, feeling great, whatever. What is it? This is your moment to give that message. You've been through a lot. You've done a lot. This wasn't your first rodeo. You were on The Apprentice before. That comes with challenges as well. Every day comes with challenges. Yeah. So what is that message that you want people to really know about you, that you want for others? Because I know that's part of what drives you. You want people to live well. You want people to dance to the beat of their own drum like you do. So what is your message you really want people to hear, to get to understand who you really are?
Be like you. Don't be like me. I think it's as simple as that. Just be like you. It can get complicated. We can have these big grand proverbs, but just be like you. And if anyone can take anything away about who I am, it's just any triggering in yourself, just look at that. From, why is my bed triggering you? You know, why do you think my woo triggers you? Like what aspect of yourself? And then start to look at the triggers that others, because none of it's anything to do with them. It's everything to do with you, you know? So yeah, just be like you.
I love it. So simple. I feel very zen now.
Told you being like 60%, it was like perfect for this.
There you go. Yeah. So having a cold or whatever you've got going on right now, it's like, wow, we're in this beautiful state.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I'm so grateful that you've joined me today. Thank you for your openness. Thank you for dealing with all of these comments, but I wanted to be present with you and I wanted to be honest. And because this is what people are asking. And in the social media, obviously, you don't get the right of reply, but here you do.
Yeah, and nor am I trying to. You know, God, could you imagine getting in a chat with somebody or like being like, you know, oh, I'm going to do a video like attacking them. Like, God, we'll just never stop.
It's kind of not your vibe anyway.
Like, it just, it's funny, but It's all a very fun dance. I'm sure it'll be over as before it starts, and it'll all be forgotten about. And I will, be the person of yet to be seen. So we'll see.
I love that for you.
Watch your space.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, madam.
Well, thank you. And thank you to you for watching, listening. I welcome your comments. I welcome your feedback. Feel free to comment on whatever platform you are watching this on. And please, make sure you sign up, subscribe. I'm supposed to do all that because it's what you do in this industry, right? It's attention economics. You know, we want you to watch. It all helps the machine keep going. But yeah, be you, be yourself. This is Uncovering Authenticity. I am Monique Bradley, and today I'm very, very grateful to have this exclusive interview with the fabulous Mr. Michael Wilson. Thank you so much.
Yay. Amazing. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, big thanks to Pete in the background for producing for us as well. We couldn't do it without you. Yay. Woo! Yeah, big hearts. A lot of love.